Welcome back to another video, everyone. My name is Isaac, and in today's video I will be comparing a cheap keyboard to an expensive keyboard to determine whether you really need to purchase an expensive keyboard or whether you can just stick with a cheaper option. I will also be doing 2 typing tests with each keyboard just to kind of show you how they feel, so stick around. I won't just be talking, but I will actually be showing how it feels to type on each one. Before we get started with today's video, this video is not sponsored by anyone. I purchased both of these keyboards. These are all my own thoughts and opinions. So before anyone goes in the comments accusing me of, being paid to say something, I'm not. I'm just comparing 2 keyboards I happen to have and determining if you really need to purchase an expensive keyboard. Another thing for my usual audience, there is a NitroType cash giveaway going on. So if you'd like to enter that, there will be a video linked in the description. You can click on that. It'll explain exactly how to enter. So if you have any questions about that, let me know in the comment down below. Yeah, let's move on to the cheap keyboard. Alright, so the cheap keyboard is the NPET K10. I got this about 3 years ago. At the time, it was considered probably one of the better keyboards you could get for like $20 off of Amazon. It actually doesn't feel awful. It's plasticky, it's cheap, but it does have a metal plate, so it does feel somewhat rigid and not complete garbage. I used it for about a day for typing, competition, and practice before I retired it to simply using it for just media control and for everything else. So I basically used the keyboard for everything else because it was a full-size keyboard. Has the media keys, the function road, number pad, arrow keys, all that good stuff. So it's very practical for everything, but it was very hard to get used to because I found the keycap profile to be just kind of strange. The keys seem kind of small and very close together. I have reasonably good sized hands, so I found it a little hard to get used to. So I just stuck to my old laptop keyboard until I finally upgraded to my mechanical one, but we'll get to that one later. It also feels tactile because it's a membrane keyboard. You're not going to get a mechanical keyboard for $20. Maybe these days you can, but back then, just membrane. But it does feel very tactile, feels very nice. It just feels kind of mushy, as all membrane keyboards do. There are very few out there that don't feel mushy. It does have rollover issues sometimes. So you will find that if you type fast enough or you're inputting enough data, it will sometimes freak out and not decide to put it all. Whereas with a traditional mechanical keyboard, you won't have those issues. You can press every key down, it will register all of them. I will now demonstrate 2 typing tests on nitrotype.com with the cheap keyboard, and you can kind of judge for yourself how you think it sounds, and I'll just kind of go over how I think it feels. And if you see my current session, I have been racing a little bit for this, so I'm a bit warmed up. I haven't raced in probably a few minutes. Alright, that was actually a pretty good race. It was right about what it should be. This keyboard is quieter than the one I'm used to, and it feels a little mushier. Other than that, again, I did notice the keycaps are a little hard to get used to. They're very grippy, and it's kind of like slightly more curved as well. So that's just hard. I think the keycaps are smaller too. That was a really bad race. Again, I'm not used to the key positions. I feel like they're just kind of a different spacing. The keycaps are smaller, but they're also kind of closer together too. So it's just kind of hard to find some of these punctuation marks and stuff. Alright, and now it's time to talk about the expensive keyboard. This is the ANPRO 2. I got it on Amazon for about $90. It was on sale at the time. It was $100, but now I believe you can find it for around $90 normally. I did have a gift card, so I got it for about $60, which at the time was a really good deal for this keyboard. I bought it for myself in around November, 2.5-ish years ago, and I used it and I got used to it pretty quickly, so I actually did switch over from my old laptop keyboard because, again, before that I was just using the cheap keyboard off to the side. And this keyboard I was using as my daily driver for typing. I used it for pretty much everything. I just wanted one keyboard to get used to rather than using 2. I still use it to this day. It feels very rigid and durable. It has like a nice thick metal plate. It does have Gateron Brown switches, which are tactile switches. They're actually not as tactile as the membrane rubber domes of the cheap keyboard. However, I don't really mind because I still think it feels a lot better. It's much more rigid. It's not mushy at all. It just feels very nice. And because it's a mechanical keyboard, it has no rollover issues. So because I'm a faster typist, I can type as fast as I want. I do not have to worry about the keyboard freaking out on me and either spewing a bunch of keys that I didn't hit or not putting all the keys I did hit. The only concern with this keyboard is it's not hot swappable, meaning that if a switch went bad, I would have to desolder it. And I could do that, I just don't really want to. I would probably just get a different keyboard if that were to happen. I do plan on building a custom keyboard in a few months, so keep an eye out for that video, that should be pretty huge. But yeah, let's do a typing test of the expensive keyboard. So yeah, let's try to get at least a decent race. This isn't my favorite text in the world. That was a pretty good race. 156 is definitely slightly above average. I'll do one more race. Overall, again, the keys feel less tactile but better, kind of crisper. The stabilizers also feel a little bit better. They're not as rattly, although they are a little mushy. Another good race. Again, I'm more used to this keyboard, so I have a much better chance of doing better. Overall, you don't really need an expensive keyboard to do well at typing, but I would recommend getting at least a mid-range keyboard. You don't have to get an expensive keyboard, but you shouldn't cheap out either. Get something that fits your budget and preferences. If your keyboard works for you, then it doesn't really matter what the features or the price is, so long as you're happy with it. Again, you know, I did fine on the cheap keyboard, it's just sometimes it gives me issues, so I would maybe want something slightly more expensive than it, as like a bare minimum. Thank you all for watching, have a fantastic day.